Hello, everyone. Once again, this is Black Forest coming to you with another market analysis video, and we're going to be taking a hard look at oil, explaining all the fundamental and economic factors that's affecting oil, and what's its outlook going to be for this upcoming trading weeks and the next several trading weeks to come. Okay. With that being said, we have to state that this video is for educational purposes only. This is not financial advice. But we all know why you guys are here. You guys are here to find good, credible Forex content that can help improve your ability as a trader and help put some money in your pocket during these extraordinary inflationary times. Okay. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So, if you guys have been watching the videos, you know that before we get to talk about what is physically happening with the charts, we have to get into the fundamentals of the oil. What's happening with oil, what's affecting oil, and why oil is moving the way that it does, okay? So please bear with me because this is going to be somewhat of a lot of information, but we're going to keep it very simple for even the average Joe to understand. Okay. Now, Russia is one of the world's major producers of oil. It produces up to about 1/4 of all the provides up to 1/4 of all the oil, and the majority of its oil goes to Europe. Okay, so majority of the oil that's brought by Russia is brought by the EU, the European Union, to supply the different European countries on the European continent with oil. Okay, now when the war started, they put sanctions. When the war started, right, it caused the oil prices, okay, to kind of rise because we did not know the certainty of what was going to happen with oil, being that one of the countries that's the major producers of oil are now in a physical war. Okay, so that started to drive up oil prices. Okay, to be heights that it has not been at, in, as we can see, since. Well, let's go back a little bit more. We'll go back one more. Oil have not been this high since 2008. Okay, oil has not been this high since 2008, which preceded another global recession when that actually happened. Okay, in 2008, we had a very, very bad recession related to housing and housing bonds. I'm not going to get into that. I have a lot of mixed personal feelings about that, what happened. But if you were to Google that on YouTube, you can definitely see what happened with that. Okay. Now, oil has been going in a high price that has not been at since, let's see, 2008, 2022. So we could say 12 years. It's been at a 12-year high. Okay. And the reason why this was because of the war between Russia and Ukraine, and Russia being one of the major oil producers in the world. There was a lot of uncertainty on what was going to be happening with that. Then also what started to catalyze this price to increase even further was that the U.S. along with NATO started to ban Russian oil from around the world. So this made oil start to pick up in price even more. Okay. But then what started to happen was that America started to tap into reserves and ask other nations for their oil, which somewhat brought prices down. Okay, right around here, this is where we got reports about America getting oil from India, which was bringing prices down as well. But as you can see, prices started to still increase back up because what happened was that with the sanctions between Russia that the NATO and America did on Russian oil, it artificially reduced the supply of oil around the world. Okay. And because of this, even though we did start to get more oil from different countries to help increase the circulation of oil, just that lack of Russian supply of oil in circulation was too devastating. So we did start to have prices pick up some. Okay. And we still have prices picking up some. Okay. And what happened here basically is what happened here when prices started to pick up some even more was that around towards the end of last trading week, right, which was basically the week of March. Let me pull this up. The week of March, the starting on March the 20th, around the 24th or the 25th, we had terrorists attack a Saudi state-ran oil company, okay, which also started to affect oil price because that started to affect the supply of oil and reduce the available supply of oil around the world. Once they attacked that Saudi-ran state oil company, and oil prices started to spike up some, okay? But the Saudi Arabians were able to get that back together very soon, right after that a needless terrorist attack, and prices started to come down some even more, okay? So what is causing this whole issue with oil and oil prices being so high is due to sanctions on Russia, energy, and gas. Okay, because Russia is a major player in the oil sector and it provides a lot of the world's circulation in oil with its major, let's say they supply a lot of their oil to the entire EU and European Union. Now, there are other countries that they do supply it to, but the EU is the major benefactor of Russian oil. Okay. Now, what's happening with the increase in prices in oil is that it's driving a global recession around the world. Not only just here in the United States, that the increase in oil prices is driving, excuse me, not recession, inflation around the world. But it's going to lead to recession. So we're going to get to that also. Okay. So increase in oil prices is causing inflation around the world because it affects consumers, right? And if not only does it affect consumers, it also affects businesses alike, okay? Because consumers have to spend more money on oil, right? Which on gas to be able to have gas to be able to go to and fro from home to work and to be able to do their everyday functions that they need for life on which they use a car for. Okay, so gas prices are also increasing. Okay, prices of consumer goods are increased because businesses have to spend more money on shipping costs on moving their products to and fro, right? So they have to spend more money on shipping costs because of the increase in oil prices, which in turn, to offset these high shipping costs, they have to increase the consumer goods. Okay, because it's not that some of these companies want to do it, it's just that they have to do it or the company will close down. Okay, because one thing about having a business is that even if you're not going into profit, breaking even can keep the doors open. So a lot of these companies are not somewhat taking the opportunity just to make extra profit because of what's going on with the global economics. They're increasing these prices so they can keep their doors open and keep their employees receiving paychecks and keep their businesses going forward. So when things do get better again, they can start to make a profit. Okay. So what's solely driving global inflation around the world is the lack of oil due to artificial reduction brought on by Russian sanctions from Russia. I mean, excuse me, brought on by Russian oil sanctions and energy sanctions by NATO and the American government. Okay. These sanctions on Russian oil is causing a reduction in the supply, which is artificial because this is not a natural reduction. Okay. This is more so a reduction of being that they don't want oil to profit. They don't want Russia to profit off its oil because they feel that if it makes more money and profiting off its oil, then it'll be able to have more money to fight Ukraine. So they don't necessarily want that, but in turn, it's hurting everyday citizens in the world. So people are just everyday taxpayers and Joes in France, England, Spain, Belgium, America, Canada.